Hey guys, well I wanted to give you another update on the Mercury here. We have been working hard to get it stripped out and looking like a derby car, I guess as you'd want to say. And we did pretty good last weekend. We got it all stripped out as far as the interior goes for the most part, and working on just plugging away. I'm working on things underneath the hood right now. As you can tell, the front fenders and a lot of this body is pretty rusty, unfortunately. But for considering the car was in Michigan its whole life with the road salt and all the lake effect weather, it's actually pretty good for a car that's spent its whole life in Michigan. But to say the least, the body is something to be desired. But luckily for us, the underside, the tub and the inside, and the frame are really clean and really solid. So, you know, body doesn't look good, but where it counts is nice and solid. So got good faith in this car. It's going to hold up well. Currently have the stock front bumper on here. This is going to be coming off the car, and I'm actually going to run my Thunderbird bumper, my real solid one that I've had great success with in the past. That's going to get bolted up to the front here, and then this guy from the front, which is still really solid and it's got good support in the back side, is actually going to be moved to the back, and I'll show you why in a second when we get around. But took the hood off just because of to make things easier working underneath the hood here. It only takes a few seconds to take a couple bolts off. So took the hood off, got all the windshield wiper assembly out, and definitely making a lot more room for this engine. Right now I am seriously considering pulling this engine and selling it as is. It's a 5.0 liter Ford, which I know it is in a lot of different cars, the Mustangs, pickup trucks. It runs pretty good. It just would need a new home, so if anyone really needs an engine, I'd be willing to give you a good deal on it. But what I have is I have another engine. I have a small block Ford, a 351 Windsor, that runs really good, and I'll probably be featuring a video on it here shortly. But this thing has got the same block as that, so hopefully it'll be a quick, easy motor mount to motor mount bolt up, and I could run this other V8 that I have, which is a late 70s V8, so I could hotwire the whole thing and have 2 switches and be done. Versus all this fuel injection, computer chips, and all this other stuff, which is a hassle, and I'm sure many of you guys have experienced before. Because you get this huge mess of wires, and you got to condense it all and put it under the inside of the car, and that's just a lot of work. So, still kind of going back and forth. I mean, for right now, we have 3 weeks till the Derby. Because they canceled our second show, we're scrambling to build this full size to make an appearance for our sponsor. So you know you have these obligations with your sponsor, so you got to have a car ready to run. So that's why we were saving this. And we got 3 weeks to build this thing, so the motor may just have to remain as is and just condense the wiring and hope it holds together for me. I do have a set of headers on that other motor that I could put on this potentially. So I might just do that, but I really would like to change this motor out just because of the fuel injection. And because I know a lot of you guys could use a motor like this, and it'd be a shame to run it in a derby and have it get messed up or something, potentially. So that will hopefully, and at the present moment I plan to swap that. Still got the doors to work. You got the back seat stripped out, speakers out of the back there. Just got a pile of junk in the inside at the moment. Got the whole dash out, more wiring, lots and lots of it, as the fuel injection, the computer stuff. You can eliminate quite a bit of it, but I haven't made it the effort to do it just yet because I'm still going back and forth on whether we're keeping the motor in or not, and just haven't had a whole lot of time to do it. So definitely working forward towards getting this done. Alright, got the back assembly out for the lights. Got the trunk wired in place, so I really don't have much to show you there. It's kind of rusty and whatnot. I can try to get a camera shot down into the inside here. Probably going to be really dark, but you know, see what I can show you without opening the trunk. Definitely got rust and some water in there, but this is just going to bend up anyway and fold in, so it'll be alright. This bumper, as you can tell, has definitely seen better days, and it's pretty darn rusty. The whole outside is rotted away, and most of the frame on the inside is rotted away. So what I plan to do is, as I was stating earlier, I'm going to bring the bumper from the front and bolt it up to this guy in the back. So I'll have the stock bumper from the front onto the back, and the really solid Thunderbird bumper that I ran back in 08 on my 73 Thunderbird that held up great is going to be bolted onto the front. So it ought to be good and solid. Still got to get the gas tank out of here too. Got the exhaust hooked up still. So I've still got a lot of work ahead of me. But as it is right now, it still runs and drives. More rust. Not much to write home about. Vinyl top. They can be a hassle to remove, and as I said, we only got 3 weeks, so we've decided we're going to leave the vinyl on and use some heavy nap roller and paint right over the top of it. And to be honest, after a couple coats of paint, you probably won't even be able to notice the difference. So we're just going to leave that on. You certainly always have the option to remove it. Some of the older cars, it peels right off whether you want it to or not. This one's still fairly new and pretty well stuck. Gotta get the rear window out. All the glass is out of the doors. I've just left the handles on them so that way I can open them and close them to make it easier when putting in the gas tank and whatnot and doing the roll cage fitting. Which, what I plan to do is we cut out the roll cage out of that town car, the 92 town car. The spacing from door to door in the town car was 65 inches. This one's 63.5, so I'm going to have to cut them down 1.5 inches, both the front and the back. But I can keep the driver's side bar. That's going to still fit perfect. So just going to trim those bars down, and I can take the old roll cage out of the town car and bolt it, or I mean not bolt it, sorry, weld it right into place onto the doors, and hopefully that won't take too long either. Let's see. Still got the stock street tires, so yes, I will be changing those. The rear tires are coming off of the Jeep that I raced, if you guys remember that one. The front tires that were on the Jeep were actually the front tires that are now on that Spirit, so those unfortunately aren't going to be available, but the rear ones are going on the rear of this car because they're really good derby tires. And for the front, we have another set of snow tires that actually used to be on the Jeep prior to a derby. They're quite a bit taller, and I'm hoping they'll be able to fit with a little bit of trimming of the fenders for turning purposes. If they don't, I think we have another set of old snow tires we can pull up just for the derby. So I'll be good with tires. The other thing, where we race Fulton County, you're allowed to use all thread on the rear of your car. You basically take the shocks out, you can put all thread in, you have to bolt it to the frame, but you can weld it to your rear end. So you can weld the bottom, bolt the top, and you can use that to set your ride height. I will probably leave it about where it's sitting now. It's actually a pretty good height as far as I'm concerned. Still pretty good. I don't want to get too crazy. I might make it level, pretty level though, but I would like it to slope back a little bit, just to kind of go for the that nice stance with the low back bumper and the high front. But part of me also wants to just jack it up as high as I can get it, and hope to avoid any people getting in my trunk like I did with that Imperial, if you guys remember that video. But with the front, I am not allowed to use all thread. So what I'm going to do is do something similar to what we did on that Spirit. We're allowed a 4-inch chunk, well, it's 4 inches long, 1 inch wide, and about a 1/4 inch thick steel plate. We're allowed 2 of those per A-arm, so a total of 4, 2 on each side. And what we're going to do is we're going to jack this car up as high as we can get it, and shove that piece of metal in between the A-arms and get this suspension solid in the front. We can weld that solid, but we're only limited to that 4-inch span. So got to follow the rules, and that's what we have to work with, so we're going to make it work. What we might do also to get the height that we need, we are probably going to end up taking the shocks out just to try to get a little more clearance out of this thing, and maybe shove some bigger springs in. Since we're allowed to do it, make the suspension solid, it's probably not going to be as big of a deal. But I can get a lot of height out of that, and then I'll probably bolt the Thunderbird bumper a little higher well, I guess lower on the brackets, but to make it sit higher on the car. So that way I get good bumper height as well. But I don't know if I can get a good shot. Maybe. This bumper is still fairly solid. And the plates that go to the bumper shocks are going to be pretty easy to be accessible. So what I'm probably going to do is unbolt this, compress the bumper shocks, and then bolt the Thunderbird bumper to the front of this thing. And hopefully it turns out to be a good and solid car. Considering we're only building this thing in a month, you know, I'm not going to be able to do everything that I like to do. But I do plan on obviously changing the bumpers out, getting a good running engine in this thing, and I definitely want to crease the rear fenders and probably the front fenders. That doesn't take a whole lot of time. So I definitely want to do that, get the nice mean looking car that I can, and hope for the best. So if anyone's going to be out there at Wauseon, be sure to stop by the car and like to meet you. And I'm sure I'll have another update on this thing as we keep rolling along. So till the next update, I will talk to you later, guys.